Jeff Bezos didn't just plan a wedding, he staged an invasion. When the world's third richest man tried to throw a $50 million celebration in the heart of Venice, Italy, he didn't expect an uprising. But that's exactly what he got. Protesters lined the streets, locals were pushed out, and billionaires partied on foam-covered yachts, while entire neighborhoods were locked down. This wasn't just a wedding. This was a billionaire's playground, broadcast across the globe. And Venice? Venice was the unwilling stage. Let's break down how a dream wedding spiraled into international outrage, and why this whole affair might be a bigger red flag than anyone expected. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez thought they could rent romance. What they ended up renting was an entire city's patience. Their 3-day ultra-lavish wedding cost a reported $50 million, with themed parties, a masquerade ball, a massive yacht foam party, and private events so extravagant they seemed more like scenes out of a movie than a marriage. Bezos didn't just reserve a venue, he practically shut down Venice. Entire neighborhoods were restricted, traffic rerouted, and hundreds of locals temporarily displaced or blocked from their own homes. While Bezos soaked in champagne and confetti, Venice was being restructured, quite literally, to suit his vision of love. But not everyone was on board. The locals of Venice weren't going to let their city be transformed into a billionaire's bachelor pad without a fight. The anger started bubbling weeks before the wedding. Activist groups like Extinction Rebellion and No Space for Bezos began sounding the alarm. This isn't a celebration, it's a takeover. Protesters hit the streets, waving signs and chanting against Bezos' presence. One of the most shocking moments, a massive banner draped from a bell tower with Bezos' name crossed out in blood-red ink. Posters covered the walls, stickers flooded the streets. The message was clear. Venice wasn't for sale. They even threatened to jump into the canals to disrupt the festivities. And yes, they meant it. If the goal is to be low-key, Bezos failed miserably. The guest list read like a Forbes cover shoot. Kim Kardashian, Oprah, Tom Brady, Ivanka Trump, Orlando Bloom, Kris Jenner, Corey Gamble. Even Secret Service agents had to tag along due to Ivanka's presence. Sources say over 90 private jets were scheduled to land just for this event. Dozens of luxury yachts docked. Venice became a temporary capital for the world's wealthiest and most powerful. And if you thought they were just coming for the wedding cake, think again. This wasn't just a celebration, it was a statement. Bezos had arrived not just in Venice, but into the social stratosphere. The wedding wasn't just flashy, it was secretive and strange. Guests were sent mood boards to help them plan their outfits, but weren't told where or when anything was happening. They only received time slots to meet water taxis that would take them to mystery destinations. And phones? Banned. Not silenced, banned. Zero documentation, zero selfies. Not even Kim K could bend the rules. Bezos wanted total control of the narrative. And that means no leaks, no missteps, no peeks behind the curtain. The message was loud and clear. This wasn't a party for the people. This was curated, polished, marketed legacy building. But here's where things get really bizarre. Despite the $50 million budget, the events in Venice weren't even legally binding. A senior Italian official confirmed that the ceremony had no legal status under Italian law. Unless they married earlier in the US, Bezos and Lauren are still technically fiancés. So what was this? A symbolic ritual? A brand stunt? Even more strange? The invitation to this jaw-dropping event looked like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Seriously, viewers dragged the design online, calling it the ugliest billionaire wedding invite in history. The outrage wasn't just local. Back in the US, political tensions exploded. While Bezos splurged on yachts and roses, some members of Congress accused Republicans of pushing a billionaire-friendly budget that would slash healthcare for everyday Americans, all while giving tax breaks to guys like Bezos. Jeff Bezos is having a $50 million wedding, one senator said, and you're paying for it. That hit hard, especially when you consider Amazon's long history of tax loopholes, labor controversies, and accusations of exploiting workers. Protesters asked the obvious question, If he can rent an entire European city, why can't he pay more taxes? The Venice protests weren't just loud, they were creative. One group floated a mannequin version of Jeff Bezos clutching Amazon boxes and fake dollars through the lagoon. Another threatened to release hundreds of inflatable crocodiles into the canals to block wedding guests from reaching the ceremony. It worked! Sources say the wedding team quietly changed the ceremony location due to security concerns. The activist response? Victory! The protest wasn't just symbolic, it changed the course of the event. In a world where billionaires seem untouchable, this was one of the rare times the people actually disrupted the system. Jeff Bezos didn't throw a wedding, he staged a rebrand. Look at 1997 Jeff. Awkward, nerdy, hunched over in a tiny office. Now look at him today. Jacked, tanned, in a fitted tux surrounded by Hollywood royalty. This wasn't about romance. This was about reintroducing himself to the world. Bezos 2.0. Not just the founder of Amazon, but a social titan, a cultural force, a modern-day king. Bezos wants to be seen as more than a tech nerd. He wants to be remembered as someone who shaped the world. And what better way to cement that than throwing the most extravagant, controversial wedding the world has ever seen? The irony hit harder than a high tide. Bezos, the same mogul who bankrolls climate tech startups and tweets about saving the planet, flew a reported 90 private jets into a city already sinking under rising seas. Add a convoy of diesel-guzzling superyachts and the pop-up helipads on the mainland, and experts estimate the three-day bash belched out more CO2 than 6,000 average Italians emit in a year. Venice's fragile lagoon system? Smothered by prop wash and fuel slicks. Activists plastered carbon tracker infographics on bridge railings, shaming guests as they stepped off water taxis. Your selfie equals 200 kilograms of CO2. Local scientists weren't just angry, they were terrified. The city just spent 5 billion euros on Mosaic flood barriers, because every millimeter of sea level rise matters here. Yet one billionaire's weekend may have erased an entire day of those defenses. For Venetians already battling Acqua Alta every winter, Bezos' foam party exhaust felt like a sick joke. The world's richest man literally celebrating on the water while helping it rise. So much for love conquering all. Mother Nature just got the bill. So what do we call this? A wedding? A performance? A billionaire battle cry? Jeff Bezos turned Venice into a stage, cast himself as the prince, and tried to write a fairy tale. But the crowd? They booed. Loudly. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real story is. Because as the yacht sailed away and the champagne dried up, the protests didn't stop. The posters stayed up, the rage lingered. Let this be a reminder, even the richest man on earth can't silence a city forever. If you found this wild story as unbelievable as we did, drop a comment below and let us know what you think. Is this a love story or a warning sign? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another jaw-dropping story like this. See you in the next one!